Stay tuned for the Joan Quinn Profiles. Joan served the state of California as a member on the Arts Council and on the Film Commission. She was formerly on the Architectural Commission and fulfilled 2 terms on the Fine Arts Commission for the city of Beverly Hills. As an editor for Andy Warhol's Interview magazine, Condé Nast Publications, and the Hearst Corporation, Joan covered the world of fashion, the mysteries of food, the excitement of theater, and the international art scene. She continues to find people who are on the cutting edge of their professions. Here's Joan Agajanian Quinn.
Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome to the Joan Quinn Profiles. We're taping here in the Hollywood Museum, in the heart of Hollywood, and we're in the historic Max Factor building, which holds this collection. It's a rich Hollywood heritage of things that have gone on forever. Our guests are author Barbara Kraft and singer, songwriter Kacey Coppola. Author-writer Barbara Kraft was born and raised in Los Angeles, graduated from Holy Family High School in Glendale, spent 3 years at Immaculate Heart College on a piano scholarship, then transferred to UCLA, where she graduated and studied in the Neuropsychiatric Institute. I think we all need that. Right? Her PhD was from the International College in West Los Angeles, and in 1968, because she became the director of communications at MoCA. So she's written many books. She's written a book currently on Aeneas Nin and Henry Miller, as well as her own
Restless Spirit.
Yes,
Journal of a Gemini.
your own memoir, right? The
yeah.
Restless Spirit, Journey of a Gemini.
Yes.
Are you a Gemini?
I am a Gemini.
I hope so. So before we get into what you've currently done, let's go back and talk about a few of the other readings and writings that you did, because you started with Light in Between a Shadow.
No, that is an ebook on Ionesco. And the
it's on
Romanian plate,
Ionesco.
Ionesco. You know, I was fortunate to be doing some interviews with him for KCRW in the 1980 when he was here. And the interesting story is that Ionesco wanted very much to meet Henry Miller. And Henry was then nearing the end. He died in June of 1980, and this was somewhere around the spring, like March maybe. And Henry said, oh no, if Ionesco could see me now, I'd be a character in one of his plays.
Oh, wasn't that great?
And then he sent me back to Ionesco with a batch of his books.
So you wrote about him, you wrote about Miller, and you wrote about Nin, and they all seem to keep reverberating in your past or in your future and your
exactly.
I mean, they're always there, right? One thing leads, 6 degrees of separation.
Right.
Barely.
Right.
More than
But when Henry died, I received the most marvelous letter from Ionesco from Paris.
Oh.
And it was so touching. And one of the things Ionesco told me during my interviews, subsequently I learned, is that during the Six-Day War, he was in Paris and he went and got drunk and took a chair out in the middle of the street of the arrondissement where he lived and cried.
Oh, that's
wept.
That's sweet.
And when I told Henry that, or I told someone that, they said, we can't, I told Henry, he said, we can't do that here in America.
He wouldn't cry. And he wouldn't do
You
that in the
couldn't
middle
put
of the street,
you
but he
couldn't put a
wouldn't
street
cry
in America.
either. Right,
yeah,
exactly.
No, he wouldn't. Yeah, I was very
and then
touching.
tell us about the Innocence.
Oh, which child? The Innocence, right? That was a libretto that I did with my ex-husband.
That's what's so interesting, because William Kraft was a great timpanist, right?
Yes, yes.
And was he a composer as well?
Oh, yeah. Bill's quite a well-known composer. I mean, now he's in his 90s, you know, but no, his work is played all over the world.
And you wrote the libretto for his work. Tell us a little bit about that.
That was a long time ago, but it was the witch trial at Salem is what it was about.
Right, yeah.
And so that's why, hence the term, the Innocence. And so we did it, I think, at Ambassador Auditorium, which was then still a religious place. So it was really caused somewhat of a scandal for us to be doing the Innocence there.
Yeah, but even Ambassador did have that kind of scandal kind of thing
Right.
to it. So
Yes.
this was probably perfect.
Yeah, I think Wayne Showkraut was there then.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
And then did you read in the Dream Tunnel?
Yes, I wrote the libretto for the Dream Tunnel. And there was kind of an interesting story there because Mariette Hartley was supposed to be doing the performances. Unfortunately, she did not do very well the first day and didn't want to go on with the other performances.
Oh, is that what happened?
And called me at the crack of dawn on the second day of performances because they were back-to-back concerts, 2 concerts in a row for children's concerts. And
had you rehearsed, or had you been to the rehearsal?
Well, I'd been to the rehearsal, and of course I can read the score, and I worked with Bill writing the libretto for the score, so I had to get up cold and do it. And Calvin Simmons, right?
Oh, right, Calvin Simmons
was conducting. I called him, I said, listen, she's not coming in, she's sick, I've got to get up and do this. You got to meet me because I don't, Anyway, it was very successful.
But he was very helpful, right?
He was
because he's a very helpful person.
Oh, he was
and
great.
when a conductor is helping you, how does he do that? Does he slow things down?
Well,
does he watch you?
We went over the score first so that I would know what cues he was going to give me. And so then I was dancing all over the stage wearing one of Anais' skirts, not dancing but prancing in high-heeled boots and dressed like a gypsy.
Back and forth.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And I had a hand mic, which was much easier to work with.
And what was the story?
It was a story. It was based on. It was 1976, so it was based sort of on the American journey here, and it just sort of took us through different kind of things. It was very poetic work, actually, which is what Hartley objected to, because she was her whole. And that's not to take away from her. Her whole acting ability is not fanciful and is not full of imagery and that.
It's more, I see.
Yeah.
And then getting into the imagery, how did you get to Mocha? I mean, I remember, I think that's probably where I met you.
You met me at Mocha. Well, I was at Time magazine before. I was a freelance journalist through the 80s, the early 80s, up until 86 when I went to Mocha. And I reported as a full-time freelancer for Time and then Wash Post and USA Today constantly. And then at Mocha, how did I get there? I don't know if you remember who Louisa Kreisberg was. She was a big publicist in New York, and they were desperately in need of a public relations director who had worked in the media. And Louisa interviewed me and said, you have to hire this woman.
Oh, so she was helping them out at
Yes,
Mocha?
she was a consultant, and then she said, you've got to hire this woman because she comes from the media. She'll be able to handle it.
Yes, but you came from a musical background, really, more than an art background, right?
Yeah, but I'd always been interested in art.
But you've always been able to write, which was part of what you needed there.
Exactly.
And you had an entree to the public, which they needed, through the music, right?
And you needed also to be able to work on a deadline.
Oh, a deadline, too.
A deadline, yeah.
Besides having a contact with the public, you also had a contact with the media.
Oh, yes. From that, of course. But actually, with Mocha, you didn't have to have that because Mocha was so big. All I had to do was be able to handle it.
Right.
I think we had 400 journalists the opening of Mocha.
Is it? Oh, so you did the opening?
Yeah, I did the opening.
Oh, you did the opening.
So basically, I mean, the whole world came for the opening. All I had to do was be able to handle it and keep everything going and get all the material to the journalists.
Yeah, that was a big job.
Yeah, yeah.
But the other thing about Mocha was you were not performing. They had performances at Mocha, just like they did at Red Cat on the stage, etc. But why did you give up performing your music?
Well, there's a point at which you're not going to be a great pianist. You're a competent and a good pianist, but you're not going to make a career.
Did you accompany people? Or
no, I was always a soloist. And
is there a big difference between those two?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and they're great accompanionists. People like, Marilyn Horne is my oldest and dearest friend in the world, and her accompanies Marty Katz is just phenomenal. You
never accompanied Marilyn Horne,
no
matter how close you were?
Never. I wouldn't dream of doing such a thing.
Is that right?
Yeah,
even though you can play and you know the music?
Yeah, well, I haven't played in a long time now, although about 10 years ago I went back and coached with someone and then gave it up again, but I'm ready to go back.
I think that you should do that. That would have been a great thing with Marilyn Horne.
I wasn't a public performer. No. She's one of the greatest performers the world's ever seen.
I know, and so nice to have her as a friend.
Yeah.
So let's talk about how you got to Anais Nin.
Well, I got to Anais, let me think, how did that happen?
And what do we call her? I call her an author.
Yes.
Anais.
Anais,
Because
yes.
I've been mentioning her, and people aren't familiar with whom I'm talking.
Maybe I think people think of her more as a diarist, perhaps.
Maybe.
Or maybe people, of a younger generation aren't aware of her right now.
But they should be, because
Yes.
the writing is really interesting, what she did in the diaries. Because
Yes.
I remember I used to get those monthly things from Rupert. They used to come in the mail to me.
Oh, for heaven's sakes. Is this when
Yeah.
she was still alive?
I think it was right after.
Probably right after. That's what it was.
They were small little volumes.
Yeah.
And I remember just devouring them.
Huh.
Must have been in the 80s, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to think when Anais died. She died February 1977.
Yeah, so I think I was getting them right in the 80s.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, so then how did you get to her?
I was sort of at loose ends, and I really wasn't a fan, had not really read her work, but someone suggested that an acquaintance that she was teaching through International College.
Right, when you got your degree at International.
Yeah, and so I submitted a play on Maud Gunn, the Irish revolutionary, and it had won a national award. I got a call one morning, and it was, "Barbara, this is Anais Nin speaking. I'd like you to come and meet me."
Did she have an accent?
Yes.
Because she was from France, right?
Yes. Oh, she had a voice that was like a flute in the mellow range. It was a beautiful voice.
I love the way you describe things. The book is fabulous.
Oh,
I
thank
really
you.
loved reading it. I love the way you wrote what happened that day, and then you have your own take on it.
Yeah.
And you question her from your own point of view.
Right, to myself.
To yourself,
Yes,
yeah.
I was. It gave me pause, that first meeting, when she spoke about her father with such intensity, and here she was, a woman in her early 70s.
I know, and she had such a background with her father.
Yes.
I mean, pretty
Yes.
scary.
Right. Well, I've never been thrilled that those volumes were published after her death.
And then how did you get to Miller?
I got to Miller because after Anais died in 77, I was sort of at loose ends, understandably. I was going through a divorce, and so I reread all the work of Henry Miller, which I'd always found incredibly inspiring.
And you spent his last days
The
with
last
him.
3 years of his life, I was there every other week.
And you spent the last few days with Anais.
I know.
It's daunting, really, because it takes so much out of you.
I realized that all these years later, in a way, but they also gave so much to me.
I was just going to say,
Yeah.
it probably put a lot into you at the same
Right.
time, but it does drain you when you're
Yes.
going through an illness like that.
Well, Anaïs's did in particular, because it was really an agonizing death. And as you read in the book, I got in bed with her near the end and held her in my arms because she couldn't stand the pain anymore.
And you-
Henry was more just something that took its natural course. He died in his bed. He was, 88 years old.
But even at that time, and
Yeah.
before we leave, I know you mentioned Brenda Venus in your book.
Yes.
And I was with Brenda when she was with Henry at the time.
Oh, for heaven's sake.
So he must have been, 86 or 7 when he
yeah.
was with her?
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
It was amazing that they had that kind of a relationship, too, and you write about that.
Yeah. And she was so beautiful, as you know.
Very beautiful.
Very beautiful woman. And she gave him great joy.
So
Just to look at her was wonderful for all of us. She has such a beauty.
That was so great. And then, tell me some more. Because what I wanted to talk about was her dress, the silver dress that you wore.
Anaïs's silver dress,
And
yes.
the jewelry that you wore
Yeah.
of hers. She gave you those
Yes,
things.
it was her last Christmas, and she gave me the silver dress before she wanted me to wear it, and I never wore it for a reading or anything like that. But that last Christmas, I went to see her, and I wore the silver dress.
Barbara, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you,
It was
Joan.
great. Thanks for watching this part of the show. We'll be right back with singer-songwriter Kacey Coppola. Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome back to the Joan Quinn Profiles. I'm here with Kacey Coppola, and we're at the Hollywood Museum on Highland. Kacey grew up in Denver, Colorado. She went to Cherry Creek High School, and with her twin sister Kate, won academic and music scholarships to USC. And that was short-lived.
It was slightly short-lived.
What happened?
You know, we just started following our calling and following the path. USC was wonderful. We had amazing teachers and amazing experiences.
Were you in music? Yes.
Yes, it was a music business program, so it was half performance and half business.
So that was good.
It was, because this is a crazy business that we were, trying to get into. So it was nice, music business 101. I remember our teacher the first day said, look around you, 90% of you, it's easier to be a plumber and you make more money than to be in this business. So,
and then you left.
I know, right? And I was like, oh, maybe I should be a plumber. No.
Okay, I'm going to leave because I can do this on my own.
That's kind of how it was. And our parents have always been so supportive, and they just said, if you can go do it, go do it. And so that's what we did.
Were your parents in music?
They were. They were musical. I shouldn't say in music. My mother was in a band all through college. She put herself through college, bought a house for herself.
With her music?
With being in a band, traveling around. It was kind of a show band. And that was back in the day when a bar would hire you for 2 or 3 weeks at a time and do things like that. Yeah.
What did she play?
She played guitar, and then she was the front singer, the chick singer. Yeah.
So there you are. Is she blonde like you? Does she look like you?
She is a lot shorter, but she is blonde and blue-eyed, just like us.
And you have identical, right?
An identical twin sister.
And I have identical twins.
Which is wonderful.
I know. When's your birthday?
February 18th.
Okay, and they're in July.
Okay.
So there you are.
Yeah.
But you took off from SC.
We did.
And did you get a contract? You got a contract.
Not then. That's not why we left. We just met some amazing producers and songwriters, started writing music and performing around LA, and then through that we met our manager, who took us to Nashville, Tennessee, actually. He heard the twin harmony, he heard our songwriting, and he said, let's just go see what happens. Let's just go there for a few weeks a month and get some co-writes in. So we did, and at the end of those 3 months we had signed a publishing deal with EMI.
With EMI. Mm-hmm. And you were Grammy nominated for songwriting.
We were.
When was that?
I know.
I'm so excited.
Yes, when we moved to Nashville, we started writing with all kinds of writers. Nashville is just the mecca. The songwriters are as famous as the singers in Nashville.
Oh, that's what you did.
Yeah, so we started writing for our own project, but also for everyone else
and then how do you get together to write together?
They treat it like a 9-to-5 job in Nashville. You have your publisher, they get together with the other writers, and they say, okay, 10 o'clock you're meeting here and you're writing a song 5 days
Is that right?
It can burn you out. It's pretty intense.
But you were on stage in Nashville too?
Yeah, yes.
The two of you? You play both guitar?
Yep. Yeah, both guitar, and then I play harmonica, so a lot of times Kate would just play guitar and I would stand up with harmonica.
How do you play harmonica?
It's just suck and blow. Joan. That's all it is.
I never figured it out.
Blues harmonica has a few more ins and outs to it, but it's just figuring out the key and then just feeling it, really. It's all about feeling it. For me, at least. I never had formal lessons. I just wanted to do something other than another guitar. So.
And you did that.
So I picked it up. Yeah.
So you were writing with what kind of famous people?
So, oh goodness, we wrote with a lot of wonderful people. We wrote with we wrote a song for George Strait, which was wonderful. Not with George Strait, but for George Strait, which was good. Once you write a song for George Strait, you're like, okay, I'm done. I can get out of here.
How great.
Yeah. And then we wrote a song with Jamie Johnson, who is a pretty well-known country artist, and we wrote songs for us with him, and we wrote songs for him, and it was...
Did you sing together?
We did. He was actually one of the first artists in Nashville that kind of took us under his wing and really believed in us, and we are like oil and water. He is like a good old country outlaw Johnny Cash, and Kate and I are these blonde girls that love to say, that sing country, but not quite like that. But we were a good fit. And we wrote a song for him. I wrote a song with him, for him, called Macon. And that,
Macon, Georgia?
Mm-hmm. Yes, it was a play on words. And,
Macon.
Exactly, it was play on words. And that was the song that was nominated for a Grammy, which
is that right?
Wonderful. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's so fabulous.
For the song itself.
Well, he must have been thrilled, too, that he picked the right talent.
Always. You can't go wrong. Yes.
But you toured a lot then.
We did. So shortly...
Just the two of you? Was that it?
But shortly after we signed our publishing deal, we went on a television show called Can You Duet? It was to find the next great country duo. And Naomi Judd was one of the judges. And Kate and I got 4th place on that show. And immediately following, we signed a record deal with Big Machine Records, which is Taylor Swift's record label, and Rascal Flatts, and
So is that where you are now?
We are not with them anymore. Oh. But we were. That's who put out our first single with us. And
what was that first single?
It was called Dreaming Love. And it was wonderful experience. But when you put out a single on country radio, you immediately go on tour to promote that single.
I see.
And you have to go to all of the reporting radio stations throughout the country, which is over 120 stations. So you're just busy. And we were simultaneously on tour with Little Big Town, and we were also on tour with Kenny Chesney for his stadium tours.
You were?
Yeah, we headlined his Corona stage, which was like a different
Separate.
stage.
But did you ever sing with him?
We didn't get to sing with him, but we got to go backstage and experience that whole thing. And
Was
it
he cool?
Amazing. Oh yeah, Lady Antebellum was on tour with him at that point too, which is a wonderful group. And it was just, you know, it's just his stadium tours are massive, and these people just
thousands.
Tens of thousands. They fill stadiums and they treat it like a tailgating event. They show up at 9 a.m. and they just have a blast. And we got to go out with all the radio stations and go into the crowds and sing and talk to people and just get them ready for Kenny. And
how did that feel coming from Denver
Yeah.
and like living in the middle of southern U.S.?
It was a change. The
I
South
bet it
is
was.
a different place. I loved it because I am a Midwest girl. I was born in Iowa and grew up in Denver. So it is wonderful, but they fry everything down there. They fry their ice cubes. I had fried okra. Sweet tea. You've never heard of sweet tea in Colorado, and people don't hear of non-sweet tea,
I
unsweet
know.
tea.
Georgia, sweet tea.
Oh,
and
yeah.
they're going like, I'll have sweet tea, but don't put any sugar in it.
Exactly. They're like sweetened or unsweetened. I'm like, what do you mean?
Right.
But that's
and
their
even when it's
water down there.
unsweetened,
Yeah.
it's too sweet.
There's still sweetness. It's just very sweet. And the summers, you know, the South is different, but it's wonderful. The people are great. And Nashville as a town.
Oh, I'd love to do that.
But it's a very metropolis city. There's two big universities there, and then just the music industry tends to bring all kinds of people, not just country music. So it's fascinating.
So, are you still writing?
Yes, not 9 to 5 every day like we were.
Are you still singing with your sister?
Yes, we are. We took a little bit of a break. We'd been on tour constantly for about 10 years, and we took a break when we both got married.
Is she
and
married too?
She is.
Did she marry the same kind of guy?
No, she married like a investment banker type. I married a TV host guy.
But you married like someone that you met on TV?
On the show we did, Can You Duet?
You did? How did you
host
meet
of
him?
that show. He was the host. And so I spent a lot of time with him. We became very good friends on the show. And then after the show was done airing, we got to know each other even better and just fell in love, and we were engaged 8 months later. And now we just had a little girl 4 months ago.
What's your baby?
Her name is Stella Francesca. She's adorable. My twin sister had a baby 5 weeks after me, another little girl.
Would you stop?
And we did not plan it. It's just weird juju twin
it
stuff.
is. It's twin stuff.
It
Are
is.
you mirror twins or?
We are not mirror twins.
My daughters are mirror twins.
My mother-in-law is a mirror twin.
Is she?
Yes, left-handed, right-handed.
Right.
It's wild.
Well, so how's your babies are going to grow up together, which is great. What's your sister's baby's
Hers
name?
is Sloan, so it's
Oh,
Stella and
Sloan.
Sloan.
How
And
cute.
actually, babies of twins, identical twins, are a little more like half brothers and sisters than cousins. Because we have the same DNA, so we can't wait to see how much they look alike.
Oh my gosh,
yeah,
this is going to
gonna
be
be fun.
really great. Okay, let's get to the stage.
Back to the
Before
stage.
We get
I
to-
couldn't stay away too long.
But not singing, acting.
Both.
Well, singing both. Right?
Both.
Okay.
So when I
At
got
the
married,
NoHo Arts Center.
the NoHo Performing Arts Center. When I got married, I missed the stage with Kate so much, I had to get back into it. And my first love was theater. So I started doing some regional theater and different things all over the country.
Oh, you did?
Yes. And then had a baby and couldn't just pick up and leave. So I was fortunate enough to get cast in this brand new musical at the NoHo Performing Arts Center called Serial Killer Barbie.
I know. You look like the
But
Barbie.
I'm not. But that's what's funny about it. I'm not Barbie. I'm one of the mean girls. It's a dark comedy. It's a musical. It's brand new, so we're workshopping it from the ground up, which is so fun.
Can you
and
help write the
interesting.
music?
The music's already written, but we do get artistic
Do you
freedom
yeah.
to bring our own self and work with them.
Because
Yeah.
21 Ways to Kill a Barbie?
21 Ways to Kill a Debbie.
Oh, a Debbie.
So
What is a Debbie?
The Debbies are the three mean girls.
Oh,
it's
I
very
got it.
Heathers-like. There's these three mean girls. And,
That's you, Debbie.
I am one of the Debbies.
I
yes,
got it.
I am the blonde Debbie.
I got
And
it.
it's kind of a Barbara decides if you can't join the Debbies, you gotta kill the Debbies. So it's pretty
How
funny.
are the costumes?
We haven't seen them yet, but
you
it
haven't.
starts with Barbara as a mother telling her daughter a bedtime story, and then the story becomes real life. We take over the stage, and it becomes a travel back through time of her childhood.
So does it go to what year?
It's
50s?
first grade through 12th grade.
But what years? Would it be the 50s or?
No, it's more the 80s, like
Oh,
when
it'd be
we
more
grew
the
up.
80s.
Yeah.
Oh, it would be.
I would say that. It's not actual year, but I would say the references would be more.
And what
in the
kind?
80s.
What are the lyrics like?
You know, there's a funny song called Middle School Sucks.
Oh, right.
There's a song called American Gal Doll, because all the little girls have those American Girl dolls that look exactly like them. It's very creepy. Stefford wife, you know. I have a song called Look Up, which is all about parents. You will love this. It's all about kids texting too much. I refuse to look up from my phone.
Look up from your
It's
phone?
like WTF, LOL, I'm always connected. You know, that kind of thing. It's very funny. Very.
And do you play an instrument or not?
Not in
You
this.
Just, do you dance?
It's all movement, acting, and singing in this one. We do have a band, but I'm not part of the
you
band.
have a
for once.
band?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well,
yes.
we need your sister to be part of the band.
Right, I know, it's so weird to do things without her. It's very strange.
I bet it is. So, who's directing it?
The director is Ronnie Marmo, who I
Oh,
believe...
we know Ronnie.
Yes.
He's directing it?
Yes, he just came in as our director. He's fabulous. We just started working with him as our director, actually, because we had a little bit of a
He's
change
great.
up.
He is, when he came to LA from New York,
Yeah.
he was one of the first people I interviewed. I mean, I was one of the first people he came to.
Oh, really?
Yes, he had this little theater company called 68 Cent Theater.
That's still who's producing this show.
Is
the
it?
68 Cent Theater, yes.
And he had 68 cents in his pocket, he
I
said.
didn't hear that story.
And that's, isn't it cute?
Yeah.
And he's so nice. And that leads me to, because he played a lot of gangster parts.
Uh-huh.
Are you related to the Coppolas?
Am I related? Unfortunately not, or I'd be a life supply of wine and movie roles, right?
How'd you get the same name?
Our families are from the same part of Italy. I am Italian, from the very southern tip in Calabria of the boot.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, but so if we were related, it would be very far down the family tree.
You're not claiming each other.
No, but I have met him.
Oh,
we
good.
went to his winery up in Napa, and he was there that day. This was maybe 10 or 15
How
years
fabulous.
ago. Yes, and we went up to him and we said, our name's Coppola, because we actually say Coppola, and he said, you don't say that name right. And we said, well, maybe you don't say the name
Exactly.
right.
And with that, goodbye, Kate. Except it's not Kate, is
Casey.
it? Do you get confused?
Everyone gets confused.
Goodbye,
I'm pretty
Casey.
sure our daughter will, yes. Too.
No, mommy. No, it's not my mommy.
Don't worry about it.
Thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much.
And thanks for watching. Keep writing to JAQUINN1 at AOL.com.